Hey everyone, welcome back to PR and Test Drive. In today's video, I'm not just going to do a review, I'm also going to be doing a sales pitch. A pitch to show you guys that a wagon is better than an SUV. The specimen I have today is the 2025 Volvo V60 Cross Country. It's a car with a hatch. We call them station wagons or wagons. This one just happens to be slightly lifted. Let's get started. Up in the front, a very familiar looking design. If you've seen a Volvo, you'll recognize this V60. LED headlights on the side along with LED fog lights down below. The center grille is, again, very familiar to the Volvo lineup, but it's a little bit different compared to the electrics and the plug-ins. This time you get vertical slats with chrome dots all over. Overall, it's a great looking wagon, and as usual, Volvo never disappoints on looks. Off to the side, let me point out the obvious, it's lifted. It's also got a bunch of cladding around the wheel arches and side skirts, so you can be a little bit rougher with it. And since it's got SUV levels of ground clearance, you can take on a little bit more gravel if you wanted to. One really cool feature is that the rear doors open kind of upwards, kind of like an Aston Martin. Super cool. As for wheels, this V60 is optioned with the upgraded 20-inch rims with 245 wide P0 tires. In my opinion, it doesn't really suit the whole cross-country vibes just because it's so big and the tires are so performance-oriented. However, you don't have to get these big rims, you can get the standard ones, which comes as 18s. But what's really interesting is the suspension setup. Although the front uses the traditional double wishbone system, the rear uses a multi-link system that doesn't use a regular spring. Instead, it uses a transversely mounted leaf spring across the rear axle. Volvo says that this helps with space saving in the cargo area. Which brings me to the back. Classic Volvo LED taillights here. You also get some rear fog lights, which is great, along with some Volvo badging and a nice roof spoiler. Opening up the trunk, there is plenty of space. Fun fact, the Volvo V60 actually gets you more cargo capacity than the XC60 SUV. Depending on whether if you fold down the rear seats or not, you get 20 to 30 liters more space here. Just like most other Volvos, the hood opens up real wide. What's underneath it is a 2-liter turbocharged mild hybrid 4-cylinder engine that puts out 247 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque. Power goes through an 8-speed ASIN automatic transmission to all 4 wheels. Unlike some of the other European competitors like the C-Class and the 3 Series, this uses a transversely mounted engine setup, meaning that it's a front-wheel drive based all-wheel drive system. So generally speaking, the engine powers the front wheels more. One thing that I really don't like about this engine-based setup is the location of the windshield fluids. It is located right between the hood hinge and the hood struts, meaning that it's very difficult to not spill windshield fluid everywhere when refilling. One thing I noticed getting in and out of this V60 is that the door sill is a little bit on the higher side, so it does take a little bit of getting used to. However, once you're inside, you get Nappa leather seats, a huge panoramic sunroof, as well as quad zone climate control. Legroom, plenty of legroom. Headroom, decent amount of headroom as well. The rear passenger also gets rear heated seats, which is nice. Up front, these seats are super comfortable. Again, they're Nappa leather, they're heated, they're ventilated, and this has the optional massaging functions. The steering wheel is also heated, and you get 3 levels of heating, which is excellent for winter driving. In terms of driving position, this driving position is nice and low. I feel connected to the road, but if, say, you wanted to drive up high like in an SUV, of course you can do that using the seat controls. No surprises to the rest of the interior. You get nice materials as well as digital screens for your cluster and your infotainment screen. Functionality is rather basic for your infotainment, but it does have Google built in, meaning that your voice control is accurate. This system does support Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but it requires a wired connection. Last thing I want to mention is the Bowers & Wilkins sound system. It sounds really, really good. It's very accurate, and in my opinion, it sounds quite reference as well. Oh, also you get memory seats on this trim, as well as the crystal gear shift, which is very nice. Okay, now that we're on the road, let's talk about how it drives. Power-wise, it has enough. It's definitely not T8 plug-in level power that gives you 455 horsepower, something like that. This has 247, but I would say that this has more than enough, or it's more than sufficient for day-to-day driving. Handling is great, despite being slightly lifted, being a cross-country model. There is barely any body roll, which makes me feel very confident taking corners. Ride quality is on the firmer side, but this V60 Cross Country still feels very compliant, even on some rougher roads. The transmission is generally very smooth, however, occasionally I will find that it jerks a little bit. For example, when I come to a close stop, but I don't fully stop and then I accelerate, occasionally it will jerk a little bit, which to me it feels like some points deductive for overall smoothness. But with that said, this V60 is very stable on the highway. It doesn't feel floaty at all over larger or faster bumps, so it makes a great cruiser. In terms of fuel economy, it's pretty solid for a car of this package. You're looking at about 9 liters per 100 kilometers in the city and 7.5 liters per 100 kilometers on the highway. I feel like, however, that the mild hybrid system doesn't really do much. It doesn't allow for engine off coasting like you find in the BMWs or the Mercedes mild hybrid systems, nor does it allow for turning off the engine when you come close to a stop. It only turns off once you're fully stopped. The only thing that I've noticed is that the engine shuts off for a longer period of time if you're at a stoplight or when you're idling. Aside from that, it doesn't feel like it does much. Nonetheless, the efficiency numbers are better than an equivalent SUV, which is what you want in a car wagon like this. So now, of course, this being a fully loaded Volvo, it's got all the safety features you want. Blind spot warning, lane keep assist, 360 camera, parking sensors, emergency braking, so on and so forth. The Pilot Assist, which is Volvo's version of adaptive cruise control and lane centering, works really well. It tracks lane very accurately and it brakes early, which means that I feel very confident using it. The 360 camera, however, on the other hand, is a little bit unintuitive. When I'm in drive and I activate the cameras, it always defaults to showing the rear camera, and if I want to show the front camera, I have to press a couple of buttons on the screen to show the front camera. I just feel like if I'm in drive, it should automatically show the front camera. So something Volvo needs to change here or update here. So what's the takeaway here? The 2025 Volvo V60 Cross Country drives well, it handles great, it offers a great amount of ground clearance for gravel or snow, and it offers more cargo capacity than the XC60 SUV. You've got all the space and versatility of an SUV while having the driving dynamics, handling, and the efficiency of a car. Aside from maybe slightly less headroom, to me this is a no-compromise family vehicle. What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments below of whether you would pick this over an SUV or why you wouldn't. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.